It's March 14th, and the strange side of history awaits. Today, we have a pilot who stayed behind to prevent a nuclear crash, a list that hunted the world's most dangerous fugitives, and a miracle that changed medicine forever. Let's begin. On March 14th, 1961, in the dark hours before dawn, a U.S. Air Force Boeing B-52 cruised silently over North California. Inside the bomber, the crew was running a routine Cold War alert mission, one of many flights that meant to keep nuclear weapons constantly in the air. Then suddenly, something went terribly wrong. Without warning, the aircraft suffered a catastrophic depressurization. The cabin pressure vanished, alarms blared, oxygen masks dropped as the bomber began an emergency descent through the frenzied night sky. But the rapid drop came with a deadly cost. The fuel drained faster than anyone expected. The crew soon realized the truth. The aircraft would not reach a safe landing. Below them lay the quiet towns and farmlands near Yuba City, and inside the bomber's weapons bay were 2 nuclear bombs. Commander Alan A. Vane made a decision that could mean the difference between disaster and survival. One by one, he ordered his crew to bail out into darkness. Then he stayed behind. Alone in the failing aircraft, he guided the massive bomber away from the populated valley below, holding controls as long as he could. Only at the last possible moment did he eject, just before the unmanned B-52 slammed into the ground. Rescue teams rushed to the crash site, fearing the worst, but somehow, the nuclear weapons did not detonate. The event would later be classified as a Cold War broken arrow, a terrifying accident involving nuclear weapons. On March 14, 1950, a new weapon in America's war on crime quietly came to life. Inside the headquarters of the Federal Bureau of Investigations, officials approved a chilling idea, one that would soon plaster the faces of the nation's most dangerous fugitives across post offices, newspapers, and police stations. They called it the FBI's 10 Most Wanted Fugitives. The concept almost started by accident. A journalist asked the FBI a simple question: who are the toughest criminals you're hunting right now? When the story ran in the newspaper across the country, something unexpected happened. Readers became detectives. People began scanning faces, studying the descriptions, and wondering if the man in the next town was one of them. So, the FBI director, J. Edgar Hoover, made the idea permanent. The very first name placed on the list belonged to Thomas James Holden, a man wanted for murdering his wife and her 2 brothers before disappearing. For more than a year, Holden stayed hidden, until one day a citizen from Beaverton, Oregon, recognized the face from the list. One phone call later, and the fugitive's run was over. Since that day in 1950, hundreds of criminals have appeared on the FBI's most wanted list, and more than 90% of them have been captured, because somewhere out there, someone always recognizes a face. On March 14, 1940, inside a quiet hospital room in New Haven, Connecticut, doctors were watching a woman slip slowly towards death. Her name was Ann Miller. She was only 33 years old, but a devastating infection had taken hold of her blood. After suffering a miscarriage, she developed a form of blood poisoning that at the time was almost always meant the end. For weeks, doctors tried everything, but nothing worked. Her fever stayed dangerously high, and the infection spread. Doctors quietly began preparing for the worst. But somewhere in the hospital, there was one final possibility, an experimental drug. It was called penicillin. The problem was, there was almost none of it. Miller's doctor managed to obtain a tiny supply, just a spoonful. In fact, it represented nearly half the penicillin available in the entire United States. The injection was given, and then doctors waited. Hours passed in tense silence, but by the next day, Anne's fever had vanished. The infection that had been killing her was suddenly retreating, and within days she recovered. Against all expectations, she survived. A single spoonful of penicillin didn't just save one life, it marked the beginning of an antibiotic era, a medical revolution that would go on to save millions more. Another day, another strange bite from history. Like, comment, and subscribe. Your next eerie dose is just a day away.